This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This meeting is an in-person meeting at 870 Colfax here in Benton Harbor. In addition, a live stream of this meeting is available at the following link. Questions may be submitted beforehand to liz.goodwin@bhas.org or presented in person during the public comment sections as indicated in the agenda. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. Requests for special assistance, including for persons with disabilities, may be sent to liz.goodwin@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 6:05 p.m. We'll begin by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next, we technically have roll call, but in the absence of Secretary Triplett, I will take the roll. That's if no one has any problem with it. All right, so President Robinson, present. Vice President Bowens.
Present.
Secretary Triplett. Treasurer Creighton.
Present.
Trustee Gavin.
Present.
Trustee Rocket Martin. Trustee Doyle. All right, a quorum has been established. Next, we have approval of the agenda. As a reminder, this is our work session. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as stated.
Okay, is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Treasurer Creighton that we approve the agenda. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
President Robinson,
You have the floor.
there are documents in the agenda that I don't have access to under the update of positions.
Okay, which section is that?
Superintendent update of positions.
Okay, so which particular, you can't access the link or you don't have it in your packet?
I cannot access the link.
Okay. All right, so Dr. Bus is gonna work on that. We'll pause for a second.
Madam President, I have a question.
You have the floor.
So, because we're discussing these items and we're not voting on them, is it okay for us to move forward or?
We can, I think, Dr. Bus, do you have? Hold on. Okay, we're gonna pause for a sec. So we're not actually taking a vote, but the vote is required for approval of the agenda, but I think that Trustee Gavin is saying she's not sure what the items are that are under that section.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I'm gonna ask for everyone's patience as the superintendent just stepped out.
He might be trying to get access to the.
Probably so. It's okay.
Trustee Gavin would like access to the link for S1 and S2.
Okay. Well. Printed copy.
Creighton,
Yeah,
Gavin.
oh,
Boom. Okay.
Got press it out, work on getting it open to the public.
Okay.
It's just with it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was small.
All right. All right. Any additional questions or comments regarding the agenda? All right, hearing none, I'll proceed with the actual vote for approval of the agenda.
I do have a question, President.
All right, you have the floor.
Okay, so this link is about positions to be eliminated again.
Speak up in your mic a little bit.
This
for me.
issue is about positions to be eliminated again, so we're voting to include this back on the agenda to eliminate positions.
I think that the agenda includes this for a work session conversation from previously. Work session conversation for today, but we're not taking any votes today.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, and I'm gonna ask for the public just to be patient with me as I'm operating as president and secretary in our secretary's absence. But I should be able to manage until Secretary Triplett gets here. So at this particular time, I am going to take the vote for approval of the agenda. The motion was made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Treasurer Creighton. So this is for approval of the agenda. President Robinson, yes. Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
No.
All right, motion passes. Next, we have review of board norms. The Board of Education norms for Benton Harbor area schools. We will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table. We will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. Those are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intentions. Next, we have public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone here for public comment on an agenda item? So I'm going to read you a brief statement as you come forward. Well, it's not really brief, but I'll try to make it brief, and then you'll have the floor, okay? The Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Today, there are 2 areas for comment on the agenda of which you may decide when to speak: public comment on agenda items and open public comment. We request that each interested participant complete a public participation form using legible writing to ensure that responses are appropriate and properly focused. Per Benton Harbor Area Schools Bylaw 0167.3, which governs board participation at board meetings, we request that you preface your comments with your name, address, and group affiliation when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to a 3-minute duration, and per our bylaws, no participant may speak more than once on the same topic until any other persons have had the opportunity to speak on that topic. Participants may remove their mask when addressing the board. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement, and not respond at this time. I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response. Please ensure that your public participation form includes your contact information as requested. If you have specific questions for the board or executive team that require follow-up, please email those directly to liz.goodwin@bhas.org. You have the floor.
Okay. Hello to everybody. My name is Deborah Collins, and I'm here in regards to my granddaughter, Mahogany Collins. I came in earlier today and I spoke with her counselor, and he advised me to come to the meeting today. And it's in regards to her graduating. She needs like 3 other classes, and they're on ingenuity. She just got done with some classes, but he said something about she may have reached her limit. He think it's a limit or something to the classes. So he said to come in to see, to address the issue to you guys to see, I don't know, maybe you can do something or somebody can do something so she can graduate. And this is Mahogany.
Hi.
He bragged about how well she's done and how she's been, he bragged about it, how good she's doing.
Okay. Did you fill out your public participation form?
Yeah, her mom filled it out. That's just her mother.
Hi.
I just
Okay.
felt the need to come here today, check
Okay.
on her. Cause I had went and spent time with Armani. So I said, well, I'm gonna come check on her to see exactly what's going on with her. Cause I had been kind of hearing some things about her, what she needed or whatnot to graduate. So I just came today and he recommended that I come to the meeting today. So I called her mom and told her mom to come as well. And so,
Okay.
but I felt she should be here too, because this is about her.
Okay, so you want to make sure, so you filled out your form? Okay, so Dr. Buss will follow up with you. And I'm pretty sure Chief Waddell can look into it and kind of see exactly where you are and what we need to do. So you are on the superintendent's radar.
Okay.
Okay,
Madam President,
you have the floor.
is it possible, I don't know that they understand that at the meetings, we don't actually respond, so we're not
Okay,
brushing
that's
you off.
fine.
Yeah.
But, I'm going to say right now, this is, very important. Obviously, graduation is coming up. It's really important, that we follow up within 24 hours to at least find out what's going on. Because, I'm not sure why they would advise them to come to the board meeting.
Mr. Alexander.
And not help you guys. So, Dr. Butts will follow up, right, Dr. Butts?
Should we?
No, it's fine. You can come.
No, it's perfectly fine that you're here. You can come for any reason, any point. This is your space to talk. But
Yeah.
there's so many internal levels of who you could have touched base with prior to getting to us is what Treasurer Creighton is saying.
They should have helped you.
Yeah.
So,
So Dr.
No,
Butts
good.
is the main guy and he'll take a look into it for you.
Okay.
I'm sending the email right now. What's her name? Mahogany Collins, gotcha.
It's a pleasure to meet you. All right, thank
your
you
mom is
all.
my classmate.
That's what she said. She graduated. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So-
Thank you for coming.
That's my.
All right, is there anyone else here for public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to approval of the meeting minutes that we'll be voting on in our May board meeting is for regular session 4/9/2024, which is currently listed. And in your packets, you will also have the closed session meeting minutes and today's meeting minutes as well. But are there any issues in the noted minutes for the 9th at this particular time?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
the only thing that I see is Miss Kennard's name needs to be spelled with a K.
What page is that on?
The last one of the meeting notes.
Okay, I think that was an issue before as well,
It may be autocorrect, sorry.
possibly, okay. Other than the errors to Commissioner Kennard's name, are there any other notations that we see at this time? All right, so I do want you all to make sure that you do your homework, take a look at those minutes from the 9th, so that we can be prepared to take a vote in our regular board meeting. If you all find any additional errors or corrections or concerns, feel free to email those to them. Next, we are going to proceed with our first order of board business. As a reminder, effective 9/13/2022, all comments will be limited to 2 minutes per trustee per topic. Up first, we have the Berry and Risa 2024-2025 budget. I did invite Risa Superintendent, Mr. Hopstock, to join us. He normally presents the budget for us. I'm not sure if we're the only district that asks for that, but I did want to give you an opportunity to present so that if our trustees have any questions prior to our official meeting, we're able to ask those of you. So you have the floor and thank you for doing so.
Madam Chair, you are not the only district that.
Okay.
asks, So,
Great to know.
let me just go over a couple things. You should have already received a packet which has a cover memo, that it's about 3 pages long. I'm not going to go over that. I trust that you can read through that at your leisure. If you have a question about any of the content, I will answer that. I'm just going to highlight a couple things, and then allow you to ask any questions and then let you get back to the business at hand. By statute, the general ed or the general fund budget of any ISD is required to go before all the local education entities within the county. This is to allow the local entities, school districts, to provide any feedback in terms of, nope, we're good with this budget. We want some feedback considered here before the budget is officially approved by my budget, by the Berry and Risa budget in June. So just gonna highlight a couple things, a couple assumptions for you, then I'll go over real quickly the gen ed budget. I'll make a couple comments about the special ed budget that is not open for review, but we share it anyways. The assumptions going into next year that there'll be a 3% property tax increase. We are part of a tax tribunal hearing with the Cook Nuclear Plant. So we have been escrowing about $800,000 the last 2 years. That is yet to be resolved. If we don't know what that resolution is, so we're assuming flat funding from the Cook Nuclear Plant, but to the Berry and Risa, that's about an 800,000 price tag per year in revenue, depending on which way that goes. We are in year one of a 3-year contract, so we've already negotiated 4% increases for next year. That's built into the budget. We have also baked in 10% increase in insurance costs. We're getting some word from our carrier that it's going to be more like 9%, and that's about what the industry average is this year, 8-9%. Most of our federal budget, we consider it flat, but if I were to really be honest with you, over the last 3 or 4 years, they go up a small percentage each year, but we're assuming conservatively that there are no increases there. We don't know what the categorical spending will be from the governor's office. A lot of the COVID stimulus money is done now, so we're into different increases than we've experienced over the last couple of years. So they're going to be far smaller. Relative to staffing, the only changes we're making on the general ed side is an increase in some communication support. And that is largely because our print office and communication office work out of the same. We have so many print office orders coming through that office right now. We are at today what we did all of last year. And so we still got a quarter to go. And so we need billing support help. We are receiving a $2 million statewide communication grant for early childhood. So we just need some additional help to get those things done. They're going to be relatively budget neutral because the money coming in will be expended for those grants, as you well know. When you get a grant, there's a lot of strings that come with it. You can't spend it the way you want. You have to spend it according to the grant. You also have a budget summary sheet. You will see that total revenue this year, we anticipate 21 million and some change. For next year, the same, 21 million and some change. Expenditures for next year, we anticipate about 21.4. You'll see that there's a slight deficit projected in funding that is almost entirely due to $300,000 worth of capital expenditures. If you come to the Berry and Risa, we have furniture that we use in that office that is over 50 years old, and it's getting to the point where we can't get new furniture. So at some point you have to upgrade. All the upgrades at Berry and Risa are pay as you go. We just did a 4-year renovation at Blossomland Learning Center. That was not funded by anything else than, we paid as we went without sacrificing programming. The same is true on the special ed side. That's a much bigger part of our budget. If you look, we have a little over a $60 million budget, 75 to 80% of it come out of the special ed side. I will say this because this comes up from every one of the districts. We have probably close to $10 million worth of federal funding that goes through special ed, flows out to the district, and we do. And so let me just illustrate that for you. As of the fall count, Benton Harbor Area Schools has 291 students in special ed that you educate here in your programs through your various buildings. However, you have another 105 students that are educated in county-wide based programs. So per expenditure report, you spend about 4.4 million in the district to educate these students. We use federal dollars at the tune of 4.8 million to fund those 103 students that are outside of the district. So it's hard sometimes to see that, but if the Berry and Risa ceased to exist today, you'd be trying to figure out how, that's another almost doubling of our special ed expense. So because it's commingled in our neck of the world, and we are taking that and spreading it out over many districts, but you can see, because the question comes, well, does Benton Harbor get a share of it? Yeah, you get a lion's share of that money to educate high need students. And in terms of other budgeting, we flow through on the gen ed side about 480,000, or about half of our RAG grant comes to support various programs here at the district. And I'll defer to the finance committee to what you guys are specifically spending that for. But just wanted to give you a little update. What does that mean for you directly? So I skipped across the water. I know that, but if there are specific questions that you have, that's really why I'm here, is to answer any specific questions.
Well, I thank you so much for your time. Are there any questions from the board at this time regarding?
Yeah.
Trustee Gavin?
Thank you. Just a quick question. I was hearing that, I'm not sure how accurate I'm relaying this, but I was hearing that for the first time, there is fully funding of special education services from the state of Michigan. Can you tell
Yeah,
us?
let me explain that a little. One of the, since, I came out of the ranks of special ed, so in my career, which it's been a minute now, the way funding for special education works is one of two mechanisms kicked into play. This is prior. I'm gonna give you the old system was you took your costs and it usually what you got the general fund student foundation grant to the tune of 9,000. Most of our special ed kids, and if I remember looking at something today, 9,000 is what you get for a gen ed student. It costs the district about 15,000 to educate a special education student because you have lower ratios, you have requirements that you have to meet, they have higher needs. Makes sense. And so what used to happen is you deducted the revenues you had, whatever was left, you got one of two mechanisms. If the foundation grant paid for it all, you didn't get anything else. If it didn't, you got what was called a 28% reimbursement. So you can see you were still left with a big hunk of money. To get the last 2 years, the funding formula changed so that it was not either or, it was and. So you get both the foundation grant and the funding from the state. So it pulls you pretty darn close to getting all of your educational needs met. It's not exact, because when they say full funding, there's some tricks in that formula, but there's a whole lot more funding. I'd have to look up exactly how much more that is for the district, but every district in the state of Michigan has more funding for special ed now.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, any other?
We need one of them.
Okay, we have to pause for a second. I didn't notice.
Yes, we need a.
We're gonna take a brief recess.
Quorum.
We have lost a member and technically don't have a quorum, so let me pause. Unless he can grab her.
Well, can we still go on because it's not voting?
No, we can't technically meet without her presence, so we'll recess.
Okay.
Just pause for 1 second, because I think there's some things going on, so we're gonna take a brief recess to ensure we can return to a quorum.
Well.
Oh, there we are.
It's over with.
No, but we technically can't have a meeting without 4. You're my quorum, huh? What do you mean? Right, but it's still a public meeting that can't technically take place without 4 of us here. So I had to just pause for a second. Okay, did you have any questions for Hopstad? From about the budget?
It's a budget question. I don't know if it's,
Go ahead.
okay. Sorry. So my question, we're working on post-ESSER funds, and I don't know how that affected you guys. But from a RISA standpoint, do you have any suggestions or examples of maybe what you guys did or what other districts within the RISA is doing for this budgetary thing?
Well, the first, sort of the nice thing, bad thing, ISDs did not qualify for any of the ESSER money, so I can't tell you from our perspective because we didn't get any of it.
Okay.
So that makes that an easy answer is there's not a lot extra. Most of the districts, and there's been warnings all along, pick carefully what you are spending. So what you've seen a lot of districts do is what I call the one-off spending. It is, what are those one-time things that you can spend your funds on? And I was here to help with put bookshelves together. And I think some of those funds went, that was a great project so that there is a lasting benefit for the students. They have libraries in their classrooms now. They have things that I don't have to spend that money later. The danger or the thing to stay away from is what I'd call legacy cost. And what we've recommended all districts is do not hire staff with these funds unless you're telling them right up front, this is temporary money. We're going to do a temporary thing with your position and it'll last 2 or 3 years and then you're done. So that's the big, and you are not the only district that is now struggling with these huge influxes into the general fund that are now sunsetting, so to speak. And now that money is either expended or you're returning any unused funds. So it is about, what are those projects? And it does require, as I told our board and others, when you have these tight funds, you got to sort of make a decision quickly so that you can expend those funds, but they're on those one-off things, they're infrastructure, there are supplies, those things that, we need them. And really what you're doing is a little game of moving the marbles around. In other words, I'm paying for this now so that it frees up money here that I can use later to do those. That's really the trick, Angel, is to try to figure out what can I buy now that I don't have to buy later, that then I can use for staff.
Thank you. And we've done a lot of that. I just
Yeah, I think
I
you
just
have, from
wonder-
what I'm aware.
yeah, so we're at a tough point because we did for whatever reason, we did do some hiring and we have to figure that out now. Yep, thank you.
All right, so if there's no other questions from the board, I would like to say thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
And I will, I know the Secretary Triplett normally pays a close attention to the budget and normally has
Yeah,
questions
yes,
for
we
you.
did have-
So I'll have him let you know if he has a question.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. All right, so we actually, I've gotten the update that we did have a closed session planned today, but legal is unable to make it. So we are actually going to proceed to policy, discipline, and committee update. I don't think we need to necessarily take a vote to amend it to remove the closed session because we don't really have a reason to enter closed session, so, we're gonna just,
Question about that?
you have the floor.
Thank you. We did get a legal opinion. Does council have to be present in order to discuss that opinion?
I don't think council we have it in writing.
Don't you have the legal opinion?
When I have an email from legal, but I don't know what I would consider a true legal opinion. So that's the caution I want to take.
Okay, so you don't have what was being brought today to be reviewed? Or you do?
I have an email for one of the particular items that was brought today, but not
Not an actual opinion. of
Not an
council.
actual opinion.
Okay. So I don't know if we could go into closed session just to review the email. The discussion that we were planning to have with them this evening, though, we were not gonna take a vote on those particular items until next board meeting. Dr. Butts, is that correct? Do you know are we? Yeah, so I don't think at this particular time that we have legal cause to go into our closed session. So if you could just follow up with us, I don't know if we need to do a brief special meeting or if we're gonna wait until the next meeting.
We may need to do a brief special meeting.
Okay.
So with that being said, I'll remove staff reports 1 and 2 because that was part of the discussion of the legal opinion that would be discussed.
Okay, so at this time, I will ask that we amend if we're gonna do those changes. I'm gonna ask, is there a motion to amend the agenda to remove the closed session that was scheduled for today due to absence of the attorney as well as staff reports 1 and 2?
So move.
Is there a second or support?
Second,
The motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Trustee Gavin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All right, hearing none, I'm gonna call the roll for
I do
amend.
have a comment.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think it's important that, just, to ensure that we are not putting the district in liability, that, we hold off on discussing these items. These items were attached to the closed session, and so I would just like to ensure that this link is not a hyperlink, it's not public, just because we have not discussed them and it's tied to, legal issues, and I don't want to put the district at liability.
Okay. Any additional, Dr. Butts?
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Treasurer Creighton. At this moment, I don't have the ability to unlock it, so it's kind of restricted. So I'll make sure that it stays locked until I can get with take two. figure out how to unlock it.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'm gonna call vote for amendment of the agenda. This is to remove the closed session as well as staff reports S1 and S2. President Robinson, yes. Vice President Bowens.
Yes.
Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. So we are going to now proceed to the Policy and Discipline Committee update. Trustee Gavin, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Robinson. We met, much of our meeting was, kind of looking at the policy in terms of if a staff person resigns, what recourse do we have in terms of what we could be doing before we just accept the resignation? You know, is it possible to connect with that staff person? Excuse me, to connect with that staff person and, that's okay. What recourse do we have in terms of connecting with that staff person before just accepting the resignation? You know, is there opportunities to find out what's going on? We know that especially staff who have not, typically staff who are not, in a district for longer than 5 years, their efficacy, that belief of, you know, that I can do it, you know, it takes time to develop that, especially in a new environment. And so we just kind of talked about, you know, ways to, you know, pull them in as opposed to just letting them resign. In hopes that we can come up with, you know, some internal structures to help find out if there's some things that we can do on our end before we lose staff. So
Quick question for you. You think about doing like a policy update, like looking at the resignation policies or?
we would definitely like to look at that policy. I think that we can embed some structures, to make sure that we're caring for staff. You know, just embedding just some structures to make sure that they have a safe space to discuss what are their obstacles and if it's on our end to address it.
Okay.
I highly recommend that we review those policies and kind of find out what best practices are. The other policy that we discussed was, and it may have even been at the previous meeting, was the policy about, school board being a part of the expulsion hearing on the front end. And the policy already indicates that the board and the superintendent are supposed to participate in that. So I don't really know how we missed that. So, you know, my recommendation is that that's what the policy already states and that we should be involved on the front end. I know it's uncomfortable. I know everybody's already doing a lot of meetings, but it is important for us to be as preemptive as possible and not just find out about an expulsion at the end. So I believe we will need to meet with Dr. Butts and Mr. Corson to figure out how to bring the board back in. I would recommend us changing, well, just adding to that policy some language that would allow the administration to move forward if the school board members are not available so that they are not held up from the business that they need to conduct. Items that we did not get to was I did want to connect with the committee and also with the school board, other members to find out what priorities that you all have on your list that you would like us to put on our list to make sure that we're addressing. And I will answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board?
A comment?
Go ahead, you have the floor. Well,
Yeah,
this is your floor, the kids. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
So when I was on the expulsion committee before, that was something that we participated in. And it went really well. According to the former superintendent, the policy changed. So it's good to hear that, good to know that there is room in the policy for the board to be involved. And so, what we can probably do is to just create alternates so that we can at least get one or two board members. I think the bigger thing is that expulsions are happening without a board vote. And I think that, that was kind of disheartening. And so, I don't know if you shared that policy, but if not, I would like to see it and make sure that we do what we need to do to get that, back rolling.
Thank you for that. I think that's a great idea, Treasurer Creighton. The policy is 5610 and it's embedded in the policy committee meeting notes.
Okay.
And I love the idea of an alternate. That is something that we should have as many alternates as possible. The other thing that I did forget is that we asked that Dr. Butts would provide updates to our about our peer mediation program so that we are, just kind of abreast of what's needed and how the community can support that preemptive disciplinary program. So if you have any updates on that program, Dr. Butts, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair McGavin. We did reach out to the company. Trooper Burton did reach out. They did send over an email in reference to their price, but they also stated along with that is that their curriculum is not up to date. They're in the process of updating their curriculum, so they didn't know whether we would want to move along with an outdated curriculum that they have or to wait for them to revise their curriculum.
So just wondering who would make that decision? Because I'm thinking it's better to start than not at all.
And then my follow-up question to that would be, if we purchase the current curriculum, do we have to pay for the
Right,
revisions later?
So I can definitely look into whether if we purchase what they have now, will we have to purchase the upgraded one? But as far as the decision, it would then depend on the overall price. So they gave us a breakdown of a small cohort, which is under my spending limit, so I could approve it. But I don't know how much it will go up if they get a new curriculum and then we have to pay for the new curriculum. So I can follow up with that question if you would.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I would say that we are in a dire need of getting our youth in a position to help solve their own problems. And it was very effective before, so would love to see that happening. And even if they're waiting on the curriculum, if there's some ways that they can be meeting just to establish their culture, their bylaws, like how they're going to be meeting and when they're going to be meeting. If something like that is possible.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and I'll turn it over to you, Madam Chair.
All right, so Dr. Butts, those last few questions that Trustee Gavin asked, can you just give us those as an update next week if you've made, next meeting, if you've made any progress?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, anyone else have any questions for Trustee Gavin and the Policy and Discipline Committee? All right, thank you, Trustee Gavin. I do look forward to the next set of policies that you all bring before us, and from conversations, it sounds like you more than likely do have majority of the board for the expulsion updates that you all are looking to make. So once the committee gets done reviewing that, we'll look forward to receiving it at the table. Next up, we have Dr. Butts with superintendent updates. We have our standard partnership agreement update, strategic plan update, and then there is a student enrollment and retention plan update that you're providing to us. You have the floor, Dr. Butts.
Thank you, Madam President. As usual, with the partnership update and the strategic plan update, I typically do those at the meeting that we vote on. However, with the partnership agreement update, we did do some visits on the last go around to see how things were being implemented. They were very pleased with the many diverse libraries that we have implemented throughout the district in our elementary classrooms. As far as the strategic plan update, we are still on course with those updates. And again, I'll give the specifics at the regular board meeting. The student enrollment and retention plan, the cabinet and I have started to work on some different plans. We are working with a company for some branding and advertising. We're also contacting and looking at other districts that to see what they're using to increase student enrollment. But we do know what we're trying to do is get out, do it as fast, as expedient as possible so that we can get ahead of this summer, get ahead of the enrollment process. So our plan is to start as school ends so that we can get ahead of school beginning, so we can potentially get some of those students back. I know the big push will be to advertise the upgrades that the board has graciously approved as part of our retention plan, and also, again, making sure that we increase the number of certified teachers that we have to attract students back to the district.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Buss. And I know Vice President Bowen sent out your email was about student retention, right? Was that sent to the full board or just Dr. Buss?
Yeah, it was real sent to the full board.
Okay. And Treasurer Creighton made an excellent point. Last meeting, I know that there was a lot that was taking place last meeting, but she made an excellent point that right now is the enrollment period for school of choice. I believe that ends in the month of May. And so even though we're planning to kind of gear up and hit the ground running in the summer, we really only have about a week or two of cushion to really be pushing to try to ensure our parents that are here or any parents that are looking for other schools that we are a good choice for them. So we do need to make that a priority if we want to try to get ahead of the curve.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments or questions from the board for Dr. Butts? Trustee Gavin?
Thank you, President Robinson. Yes, I do have a few questions, Dr. Butts. I know that we had like a tasting event for a possible, although this spread looks amazing. Nothing against the Dexo. But I know that we had a tasting event from a company that was interested in providing these student lunches. I know that the students it's a common issue, right? And I was wondering, A, what happened with that? B, have we considered exit tickets that allow the students and staff to provide, daily feedback, like some type of survey process, so that we're kind of not saying you have to respond to everything, but just to be able to collect some quick data that can inform, what we're doing. Yeah, those are the two questions that.
Yes, ma'am. Let me go to the second one first. What type of exit tickets are you referring to?
Just something that gives them an opportunity, like quick survey data. It could be smiley face, sad face, or what is it that made your day today? What is it that made you sad? Like, just anything so that we are giving students and staff opportunity to kind of give feedback as to what is happening with them. And then also some type of exit ticket for parents who may be taking their students out of the school so that we can collect that data and find out what the main concerns are.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I hear you right. So as far as exit tickets, as far as surveys for parents, we had put out a survey and we only gotten 22 responses back. So I can put up another survey about those parents that take their children out of the school district. When you talk about exit tickets, the teacher in me thinks about, you're talking about what happened in the class, and as we leave out, what do we learn? So that is part of the initiatives that Chief Waddell and formerly Dr. Crow that was here had already implemented. So those are in place. Got to make sure that we're doing it with fidelity. As far as the RFPs with the food service, we did have two taste testing to come in, and we just got approval back from the state. They have been sent out. Mr. Corson will be putting those RFPs in the paper, going through the RFP process. So we will be opening up before the deadline for different companies to bid for our services. So that we know that there's a lot of interest in Ben Harbor area schools. Mr. Corson and myself were invited to several different districts. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go. I had to do daily operations, but he and Miss Rockette Martin went on one tour, and he's gone on two other tours to other districts to see what they serve on a daily basis. So we wanted to get an idea of what they serve daily and not just a one-off show off of what they can do. So he got a good chance to see not only what they serve on a daily basis, but to speak with the students as far as, okay, I'm just here today. Do the lunches look like this daily? What are your thoughts? So he got some really good feedback from several different counties, districts that he went to.
Okay, thank you. Just real quick, just a clarity. Um, I'm wondering if we can add to the learning and then maybe add a question about climate, like climate and culture. Not to catch us,
Yeah.
but to, kind of inform us about, what's the climate and culture in the classroom or in their school day. Some things that we can maybe address, like be on top of before they leave. And then the other quick question is, I've asked about this before and you may have given it to me. I might have missed it. I was wondering if it was possible to get kind of a number crunch of what is needed to have the student teacher ratio of 15:1, even if it feels unrealistic. It would be good. I know it's a very popular thing amongst teachers and students and parents. Be a really good thing to know what it would cost us to do that so that we can begin advocating for it if the district decides that that's what they want to do.
Okay, and if I can speak to that just for a moment. So when we look at student teacher ratio, it's an FTE matter. And with the looming ESSER funds leaving,
Mhm.
we have to, so one of the things that Mr. Hopstock talked about was not to make sure that we didn't fund people with ESSER funds. So what we were strategically able to do was supplant salaries with ESSER 2 funds. So when Ms. Benson was here and gave her report of the 10 million that we pulled down from ESSER 2 was to supplant. So the money that the state paid out, we were able to recoup that and put that back in our coffers, right? So when we have a low student enrollment, what happens is we don't get as much in state aid.
Mhm.
State aid is what pays the teachers. Our teachers are funded out of general fund. So if we were to hire more teachers with less money coming in, we put ourselves at putting the district in the red. So when we get more students in, number one, more students, more programs where we can say, for example, we were a central hub for auto mechanics.
Mhm.
So we know that there's a consortium through Berrien, through the ISD, where if you're close enough, we can bus our students there for different CTE programs. But if we had one particular program that the other districts did not offer, we could potentially get monies from those, but then they have to be used in a certain way. So when we talk about a lower student teacher ratio, it's going to depend on the FTE, which is the number of students we have. We have to increase the number of students and so that we can actually do that. Now, when we increase the number of students, we get more title funds. I'm gonna make sure I'm speaking to the mic. We get more title funds, which would also allow us to put some of those salaries, depending on what they do in the classroom, in the title funds. So that is allowable. But again, we have to see two things, and that's either programming, and we can do it within that program area. So in certain CTE areas, if we had the monies that'll allow for a teacher and a para, so to speak, we would have to have that programming, or we would have to make sure that we do our retention and recruitment plan and get more FTEs in order for us to support it through title and general funds.
And so we are able to just get a dollar amount of what it would cost us to have a 15:1 student teacher ratio, even if it's in the red, even if it's, just for us to know this, if we wanted this, this would be the additional cost. Is it possible to get that?
We can do that, and I can give you just a quick little example. So each kid now brings in 9,300. It's 9,300 per head. So if you look at a typical salary, we'll say a brand new teacher, 36,000 plus benefits, so that's like 70,000.
Okay.
We would need at least seven of those, plus then plus. So, and then we got to make sure we pay the benefits out of that too. So those kids have to equal up to that teacher's salary and benefits. Because the district has to pay a big portion of the benefits. Although, so like with health insurance, I may pay $400 per check for health insurance. But that's not what the district will pay. So I won't explain too much because I can get to the whole thing, but I will get you the numbers that you're asking for. So I won't take up so much time here.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All
Madam
right,
President,
you have the floor.
I guess my question is in general, I noticed that we're only down 2 bullets on the 3rd bullet and we're halfway through our meeting. So I just want to kind of get a clarification on if it's a way that we can ask all of our questions and then get a response. And then if there's something that requires an in-depth discussion, I'm gonna be honest, it sounds like Ms. Gavin would benefit from a one-on-one with the superintendent to get some clarification on some of these things. I think she has some great questions. And it sounds like that might be something that'll help us be more efficient in our meeting.
Thank you, Treasurer Creighton.
No problem.
Any of, Vice President Barnes, did you have any comments or questions regarding the superintendent's update?
No, thanks.
All right, I have
Madam President.
Chief Corson.
Mhm.
I just wanted to answer real quick one of the questions that was posed. We currently have, I believe, 4 climate and culture surveys that are going out to students and staff in addition to the Humanex. And so we are going to be utilizing those for decision making going into next year.
Thank you.
All right, so with that being said, we're gonna proceed with teaching and learning. Is there an update? I know that we don't have Raquel Martin or Secretary Triplett here. Trustee Gavin, in their absence, do you have any form of update that you'd like to give, or would you like to prefer to wait until our May board meeting?
I can wait till our May board.
Okay,
meeting.
so we can proceed to the Benton Harbor High School and to the other committees as well. If you all prefer, we can wait until next week, being that it's only 4 of us here. Or you can give your update today, it's your choice. So we're gonna proceed with the Benton Harbor High School MSU field trip staff report T1. I am going to, I believe, pass to Dr. Butts to present that in Chief Waddell's absence. And thank you for your presence today. You have a wonderful evening, Superintendent Hopstock. You have the floor, Dr. Butts.
So the MSU field trip.
Uh-huh.
Yes, ma'am. So that's a yearly field trip that the high school typically takes to Michigan State University. At the next board meeting, I've asked Mr. Alexander and others to be here to give a full presentation. So if there are any questions as to the number of students, the number of chaperones, whether they plan to do, how does it affect the academic aspects, making sure that the students get the information that they need for FAFSA, for possible summer enrollment, summer classes, so that they can get acclimated. So that's what they will be presenting at the next board meeting for a vote.
Okay, and Trustee Gavin, I see your questions, but Dr. Butts, is there an amount that's noted? I'm not seeing an amount on T1. Has that yet to be determined, or am I overlooking it?
Because I spoke with Mr. Alexander yesterday, that's to be determined. He was still reaching out to some students about going on the trip, so that's to be determined.
Okay, so you want to ensure we have, I know he's gonna come, but I can kind of guarantee you're gonna have difficulty with the vote if we don't have that information. So we do look forward to the presentation. Trustee Gavin?
President Robinson, I was just wondering, it may or may not please the board, but if it's possible, is our field trips and an item that we can put kind of on a consent and, pull out if there's a specific question about a specific field trip, but they're pretty standard, just in the interest of time.
Yes, we can always, so when we take our vote, we can take our votes with consent agendas for anything. We just have a board that normally wants to dig through everything, but we can always do consent agendas for our topics. Any other questions regarding that field trip? If not, we can proceed.
I just want to make a comment.
You have the floor.
Okay, just to support what Trustee Gavin is saying, is it possible that whatever administrator or cabinet member is signing off on the field trip, they can go through a checklist so that when it gets to the table, we don't be put into a compromising situation? If you guys can just spend a little time to double check that, then we can just go through and make sure that the policy and the rules have been followed. And we don't get involved in the day-to-day operations of who is going where, but that the business is handled on the admin level, and then we're just following our policy to actually approve it.
You can respond, Dr. Butts.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Treasurer Creighton and Trustee Gavin. We are in the process of automating those forms, digitizing those forms and updating them so we can make sure that, so what'll happen is it'll go to each one of us that is necessary for a signature, making sure that aligns to policy and that all the necessary signatures and all the questions and points are answered. So when the administrator goes in, they fill it out, it'll bounce back to us. We check it, or it'll also, we're making it where it'll flag. If they didn't include something, it'll flag it.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So next up on the agenda, we still have staff reports T2, T3, and T4. T2 is December field trip to 5-Star 1, T3, 5-Star 2, and then the FPE Lincoln Park Zoo. Dr. Buss, you can just present all of those, and then if we have any questions, that was an excellent suggestion. We can ask. I have none, but Dr. Buss, you can just give us a brief update. Or if there's anything that you feel like we need to pay attention to in the staff report, so we're prepared for our vote.
They're local. I mean,
Okay.
they're within state. I'm sorry, they're within state.
Okay, does anyone have any questions at this time about the field trips?
Lincoln Park.
I have a quick question.
You have the floor.
Is there a cost for students to any of the field trips?
Dr. Buss, that was for you.
Oh, okay. So for these, let me make sure. One is out of state. I'm sorry. Lincoln Park Zoo is in Chicago, so that will come up for a vote. And as far as money from coming out of the pocket for the students, I don't think so. Ms. Cups, do you? Yeah. For any of the field trips?
There won't be a cost for any of the students. The MSU trip is free except for the busing, which is a little over $2,000. The 5-Star trip for it's 2 times because the safety requires that only 2 groups of the kindergartners go at one time, and then the next day the other 2 groups. And there's no cost for the students for that. It comes out of title funding. And there's no cost for the FPE trip either.
Perfect, thank you.
All right.
That's the goal.
So if there, Trustee Gavin, did you have any questions about the field trips? Okay, so if there's no questions at this time, I do ask that the board marinate over the forms. If you notice anything is missing or you have any clarifying questions, please send those to the superintendent prior to our June meeting. Our May meeting, so that we can be prepared for our vote when we come to the table. Next up, we have Human Resources. Does the HR committee have an update that they would like to provide today, or would you prefer to wait until
I
next
would do it
week?
today, so when our next meeting, it's.
Okay, to balance. You have the floor.
We had a wonderful HR meeting. We discussed the past 3 years, when we first got on this board, we seen a high number of resignations. And, it was like one time, I think we had 50, the next year it was 40. And as of right now, we are at 20. So that means something is happening and something is going great because our resignation numbers are low. We also talked about, our absentee rate, and looking at, how many staff are calling off each day versus some calling off a month, what type of investigation procedures and everything of that nature. We talked about our teacher in training, who's passing the test and who's not, and what are we doing to provide assistance with them. We've discussed our school social media policy, and how we probably need to have a directive or a policy created once we speak with legal on making sure, like when I went to college, my professors could not be friends with our students. However, a principal could have a Facebook page Principal Bobo. And that's the where he communicates with, instead of using your personal page. Some things you see, you shouldn't see and everything. So we just wanted to make sure that we're not hindering anyone's First Amendment speech, but what we're doing, providing adequate support and making sure that we are giving our freedoms. We discussed the last 3 pays of our superintendents. And, how are we lining up as a district? Are we making sure we're not top heavy or we're just right? So we discussed a lot of several things, and it was a lively discussion and meeting. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the HR committee update? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed to staff report H1. Dr. Butts, is there anything that you would like to cause our attention regarding staff report H1? And then I'll open the floor up to the board. If you have any questions, you may not have any.
I don't, it's a standard report. One of them would possibly be removed for a legal opinion, but other than that, it's a standard report.
Okay, so regarding staff report H1, being that we know that we're going to potentially go into a closed session, we may want to have that particular report separated and not do consent. Any questions regarding staff report H1 at this time? All right, hearing none. Facilities committee, we have not yet had an opportunity to meet. We have no actual update to give you all at this particular time, but we'll ensure that we give you an update in our May meeting. I'm going to pass the floor to Chief Corson for anything pertinent he'd like to tell the board, and then he is going to review staff reports SSS1 and staff report SSS2.
No, the only thing I would say that would be pertinent is that we have begun work on the boilers. You will see that the back parking lot is under construction right now. And so just giving you that high level update, we'll go into more details within our facilities committee. Going into the staff reports, would you like me to read them or just give a summary of what is on?
You're okay with just giving us the highlights.
Okay. Staff report SSS1 is in regards to parking lot patches. What you will see attached is a proposal that has been vetted. We've received multiple quotes to make sure that we were getting a good fair market value. And what this will do is fix many of the potholes that are across the district within our parking lots.
Okay, before I open up for questions, when you say across the district, is this just the active parking lots or are you doing vacants as well?
No, this is only open occupied buildings at this time. And what you will see within that attachment is you will see a highlight of which pothole actually is going to get surfaced.
All righty. Any other questions from the board regarding staff report SSS1? Trustee Gavin?
Just a quick question. I'm wondering if it's possible to have the quotes. Just possible to have a few of the quotes.
The comparable quote?
Yes.
Do you understand her question? So you have the quote that you selected. She's asking if we can at least see the other bidders.
Yep, I can
Okay.
supply another comparable.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board regarding staff report SSS1? All right, hearing none, Chief Corson, you can proceed to the next report.
Staff report SSS2 is in regard to district devices. This is for teacher and staff devices, some of which date back to 2016. So this is an upgrade and refresh of staff devices.
Okay, when you say devices, are you meaning their computers,
Their
or
computers.
telephones?
Yep, they're computers.
Okay. All right, does the board have any questions for Chief Corson regarding staff report SSS2?
My question would be that if it's anything beyond computers, that those be listed so that we can be fully transparent. We did not have our finance meeting. It was an oversight on my behalf today. And so I would just like to make sure that we have that information specific for the finance meeting so that when we meet next week or in 2 weeks, everything will be ironed out and we'll be able to move forward with it.
Can you clarify the ask of, you were saying everything beyond computers?
So it says, okay, so what page? Let me find it. But do you have it itemized currently?
So currently there are 3 different devices, so it is
Okay.
separated out by device type, but they are all 3 district devices.
No, I just heard you say computers and so, if you can give me 1
The
second.
CDWG, is that the quote
Yep.
that goes with this? Okay. Is ThinkPad the term for the computer?
Correct.
My question as a follow-up to the first question I had is, what are we doing with the, like, do we have a system for them to turn in the old equipment? Do we have plans for what we're doing with that equipment? What is the process for that?
So typically what happens is that the devices are returned and then we try to find another utilization within the district. If there isn't a proper utilization or if the devices are past their shelf life, then we look to a recycling program.
Okay. Any other, trustee, go ahead.
Yeah, so my comment, I'm glad that you said that. That's a great point. I know in other districts around us, they actually allow the students to be a part of their recycling program. And the devices can be donated back into the families and students. And so just to have a good handle on that and making sure, I know I've read some newspaper articles about a district within about 40 minutes of us where they had employees that were actually selling the devices. And so I would just like to ensure that there's a handle on that and that students are receiving them, and that they don't just be somewhere sitting in a warehouse and or lining someone else's pockets.
Yep. So as there becomes a plan for those devices and as we start to move towards that, we'll make sure that we give an update on that.
Thank you. And if we need to make a motion to actually put that into place, I would definitely ask my colleagues to do that. So that we can take board action to ensure that that's done with fidelity.
I'm sorry, guys, my vision is a little blurred in this left eye. Okay. Any other questions for Chief Corson or any other comments from the board regarding SSS2? All right, so we look forward to the update, Chief Corson, and then if you could just plan to follow up with Treasurer Creighton regarding what you've researched regarding recycling. You can let us know in our meeting in May. And then that way we have that information when we take the vote to purchase the new equipment. All right, so thank you so much for your time. We're gonna proceed to business and finance. Finance Committee, are you choosing to give your update today or would you prefer to wait until your next meeting?
Yeah, we're going to wait. Chief Vincent is not here. And we did review the packet, but we were not able to actually meet. I didn't properly record it on my calendar correctly.
All right, so we're gonna, Dr. Buss, in Chief Vincent's absence, I'll ask that you just kind of go over staff report F1. I know our monthly financial reports are pretty standard, but I would like us to take some time to kind of look over staff reports F2 and F3 regarding the summer tax collections and the rebudget one. You have the floor, Dr. Butts.
Okay, so for staff report F2,
I'm sorry, before he proceeds with staff report F1, did you all have any questions regarding that report? Any line items that you would like research prior to the meeting at this time?
Well, two that Chief Vincent highlighted were actually a part of the student services updates. Those weren't things that we had talked about before. And so those were highlights that she wanted to make to the board.
Okay.
But obviously the student services went before finance. I would say those two things, and then I've not seen the rebudget, so that might be something that Dr. Butts could speak to. So that if we needed some time to ask some questions, we can do so over the next week or so.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask that the board take a look at our monthly financial report. If you have any questions or any line items that are problematic or confusing for you, please email those to Dr. Bus prior to our next meeting, so that we can ensure that we have no surprises at the board table and that we're fully prepared to get those questions answered. I'm gonna be quiet at this time, Dr. Bus, and let you proceed with staff report F2.
So F2 has to do with summer tax collection. By levying 100% of the district school property tax during the summer payable by mid-September, the district is able to reduce the amount of funds borrowed in the state aid note program, thereby reducing annual borrowing costs. So we'll be asking for you to approve this summer property tax collection. That's what that is for. And
Okay.
so, and in the position we're in for the past 2 school years, we have not, we have not been in a position to have to take out a state aid note, a SAN, which means we're in a good financial position. This just helps put us in a better position of not taking out a state aid note, SAN, and then paying back interest to the bank.
Okay, my only ask is that I know that there was a previous, I don't know if it was last year, all of my years kind of run together, where we realized after the fact that we had left off one of these districts. I know Ms. Goodwin is normally good at making sure they're there, but because the error was made previously, I just ask that you double check so we don't have to come back and do an additional vote. And I can't remember which one we left off before.
That was last year.
Yeah, okay. Any questions for Dr. Buss regarding F2? Hearing none, you can proceed to F3. Regarding the mid-year budget amendment.
Yes, ma'am. I'm taking notes. So the proposed budget reflects the actual fall 2023 enrollment data and the updated state aid revenue estimates and the grant revenue expenditure revisions. So basically what we're going back and recognizing is the loss of enrollment and the loss of state aid in this rebudget and looking at the grant revenue expenditure revisions. So there were some revisions made to some of our grants. So it's a rebudget that Ms. Vincent should be in your packet. That's what she's talking about. That's what she's referring to. The differences in the numbers, what was anticipated and what was actually received, excuse me. So that's what the rebudget she's asking to be voted on.
Okay, and then we're going to have the final budget amendment before the end of the year.
Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
that final budget will have to go through a public viewing and then a vote by the board. So we are in the process now of making sure we put those together. We've also discussed in the finance committee with some type of public input into this budget making process so that the community at large can have some of their asks addressed.
Okay, one thing that I would like to see us do, and I think I actually started it, we merged the budget hearing with the board meeting to try to use a better use of our time, but in looking at that, it does not give the public an opportunity to make feedback that we actually implement. Now that we have our work sessions in place, we have a little more time in doing that. But I would like to see our budget hearing be a date different than the board meeting, so we do actually have some time to reflect on what the public says, if any amendments need to be made to that. Not the final budget, but the new budget for next school year.
Yes, ma'am. I'm taking notes.
Okay, any questions for Dr. Butts regarding F3? Trustee Gavin?
My question is, do we have a date for the, when we ratify the budget?
Have you set your Treasurer Creighton or Dr. Butts, you all have not set the budget, the budget hearing date? You all have not set that yet, correct?
We haven't said it yet, but we know it has to be done prior to, the last date that it's due is June 30th, so it has to be done prior to June 30th.
Prior to June 30th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and just one quick question, if you're not able to answer now, you can answer at the next meeting. It's just, there's there's funding allocated for adult and continuing education. And it looks like we haven't been spending anything in that regard. Just wondering if you have a plan. I know some people do have questions about adult ed. Wondering if you have, any
Here.
plans for utilizing that $132,000.
Yes, ma'am. So we just looked at those allocations that we got in. We, as a matter of fact, just came across my desk the other day. So we will be discussing it in the finance committee on as to where those funds go and how we spend those.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so we are actually through our board meeting, the business for today. We are done with business and finance. Old business, I know that you all actually had your retreat Saturday. Did we get a quorum or was it a
Yeah, we
committee
had-
meeting? You did have a quorum, okay.
Yes.
Any updates that you'd like to give it? I missed it. Or you can wait until next meeting since we'll have here.
Sure, we'll give up updates. Our retreat was empowering. It was just a wonderful retreat. We talked about why. Why are we here? Why did we run? And some of the answers were to fight for Benton Harbor schools, to make sure our kids get a quality education, to be a voice for the voiceless, to restore the academic experience. Some of us ran because it was a lack of consistency by the board, the administration, and the state. It was a lack of accountability. Some of us ran and we're here because we believe our kids deserve a quality education. And it's a responsibility to leave the students in community land, and to provide a healthy learning environment. So we're gonna ask our fellow board members that wasn't present at our retreat to put your why up there on that red thing. The green fell, but we also, the green, we talked about some of our, stuff that we see that could be a hindrance. We need to learn how to work together. Operating to achieve a shared purpose linked by shared values, respecting each other and working towards a common vision, working together with respect and dignity, some of the stuff that we thought. But then we were asked why, what else motivates us? And it was because we all agreed, because we all are on this board because we care. We believe in better. We identified the need and want to be a part of the change, and we want to influence the direction of Benton Harbor area schools. So we want the board members that weren't there to fill out that so we can continue going on. We think we need to have more retreats. It was an intimate setting, and we got a lot of discussion done, and it was, what is your why? And how hungry are you for your why? Trustee Treasurer Creighton played an inspiring video by Mr. Eric Thomas. Every single one of us played a part in it, and it was just a fabulous retreat.
Thank you, Vice President Bowens. It sounds like it was fabulous. And now make sure I get my, Treasurer Craig.
Actually, this is just, I know that I'm a part of the quorum. I need to put my phone on the charger or I won't be able to drive. So.
Oh, you
just
still
stop
in
out for 1
the,
second.
okay. Okay,
I didn't bring my charger, so that takes for my car.
okay.
Thank you.
You actually found one. Awesome. Okay, we'll proceed. Training opportunities. I would like for us to take a collaborative finance training as a board. I know the finance committee has done a great job at learning a lot of the finance process and language. I would like the full board to be fully comfortable in finance. And then also, I can't think of the term, effective board meetings, I think it's what it is, or something like that, just running your board meetings as a team. So those are the two training opportunities that I would like for us to have together, maybe do a joint retreat date and find a way to merge those two into one day, or we can do where we do finance at one meeting and then go into some team building. So I am looking forward to that. I have no new business at this time. We're technically at open public comment. Is there anyone here for open public?
President
Oh,
Robinson.
go ahead. You have new business?
I was just wondering, we always have food here. And there was a board president who started the whole food, piece. I'm just wondering, is it possible we always end up not eating it all? Is it possible to have the food available to the public and not just us, in the future?
Absolutely. I had actually spoke with Ms. Goodwin about, cutting down to like good, food bars and stuff like that, because we do have leftovers, but I think today was a special, it was a special presentation, or they were trying, a thank you or something she said, but I have no objections to sharing with the public.
Thank you.
Or we can also always downsize to just having fruit at the table. So that's something we can look into. It'll be cost saving. Anyone for open public comment? All right. Do you need the public comment statement, or are you familiar?
You might have to push the button.
Oh, for sure.
It's like a button.
Okay, I think we're on now. My name is Sherry Schlage. I reside at 291 Hastings Avenue. So in a previous board meeting, Superintendent Butts, you were cutting positions and shuffling personnel in order to be, the claim was, right, fiscally responsible. So we employ some instructional facilitators. And so one such instructional facilitator is employed here at the high school, again, as an instructional facilitator. And by that name, we understand that that person would facilitate with instruction, working with teachers. Well, Patricia Milanowski is employed as an instructional facilitator at the high school. However, her area of certification is at the elementary level, K through 5, all subjects, K through 8, self-contained, and then social studies, K through 8. And so my question is, why are we employing this person as an instructional facilitator at the high school when their area of certification is not at the high school level? And in 2022, the wage paid to this individual, as reported in mackinac.org from data submitted to the state, 2022, the wage was in excess of $82,000. Then Connie Flood is another one of our instructional facilitators. She's employed at Martin Luther King Elementary School. Well, Connie Flood has her certification at the elementary level, K through 5, and then K through 8, self-contained, family and consumer sciences, K through 8. This comes from Michigan Department of Education, and science, K through 8. So it makes sense that Connie Flood is employed at the elementary school as an instructional facilitator. In 2022, her wage reported was $79,999 and change, so less than the other individual. Well, let's jump back to 2014. In 2014, Connie Flood's wage was around $56,647. And then we go back to Milanowski, and in 2014, her wage was about $48,687. So there was a huge jump for Milanowski, particularly from going back to 2019 at around 50,000, then a tremendous jump in 2020 to 68, then 69 at leveled off, and then another tremendous jump in 2022. So a couple of questions. We have some discrepancies in the wages we're paying these individuals when they're serving in similar capacity or at the same capacity, by what I can see. And then we have an individual who is certified at the elementary level, but they're working at the high school as an instructional facilitator. I think that's an inappropriate assignment.
Thank you. Anyone else for open public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed to, thank you for your comment. We'll proceed to superintendent announcements and comments. Dr. Butts?
Thank you, Madam President. I will defer to the next meeting, to our regular board meeting.
All right, so we're gonna start with trustee Gavin.
Thank you, President Robinson. I want to thank everybody who came out. It's really good to see you all, Ms. Gwen and Ms. Sherry. And to everybody who's on the Zoom and to the staff who stay after for our board meetings. I just want to say that I voted no, about the agenda because I do think that now is not the time to, um, restructure or eliminate positions. I do think that it is important to address those concerns, and I do understand how contracts work and things of that nature. But I, I would hold consistency at an all-time high, and I think that it's just super important to, let folks do their job, give them an opportunity, to master their positions, give them the training and the support and the resources that they need to do their job, and then make those assessments accordingly, not right now during the school year. I think that we can benefit from really looking into internal recruiting practices, in terms of like just making sure that we are treating folks right. If we're treating folks right, if we're implementing those programs that attract the students, attract the parents, looking for ways to provide healthy, safe, hands-on learning opportunities, that's the best recruitment plan that we can have. When we're treating our staff right, they are the best mouthpiece for the district. They're the best branding piece for the district. It doesn't require, outside organization. I think that recruitment and attraction is an internal thing, creating that safe space. And it starts with us, being in a space where we can look at what we're doing or not doing and what type of safe space are we creating for people to be able to voice their concerns. I think like that's where we can really show our power as a district. I think the parents already want to bring their kids here. It's just a matter of how inviting are we? How, what type of safe environment do we provide? Are we providing the academics and the hands-on classes that they need, so that they can get jobs, get careers, live out their dreams. So I cannot stress that enough. I just believe that if we create an environment where people feel safe, people feel loved, appreciated, are paid well. I don't think it's a bad idea to pay people well. And I don't think it's a bad idea to hold them accountable to that pay. I think that we should pay well. The example of a teacher making $36,000, that saddens me. I don't think any teacher here should be making that. I think that, we need to be figuring out how to advocate through state and federal funds to make sure that we are paying our teachers better, and just doing better, delivering education better. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Gavin. Treasurer Craig.
Thank you. Good evening. Just want to thank everyone for all that we do. A big P word came out Saturday, passion. And I think we minimize passion and everyone demonstrates passion differently. And so, just wanted to, wear my orange and black and white today to just celebrate unity. I think all of us have passion, and we talked a lot about unity and board unity on Saturday. And, I thought it was unique. The root word in unity is unit. And then the why, we also talked about our why. And so if you think about, the unit and our why, it spells unity. And so I just invite everyone to kind of focus their attention on, because we care, we believe in better. We identify a need and we want to be a part of change, and we want to influence the direction of Benton Harbor area schools. And if we can't agree on anything else, I think, if you're here in whatever capacity you're here in, you should be able to agree on 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so, that's all I have. I'm really excited for the spring season, praying that we do what we need to do to ensure a great graduation season and a great closing of the year. Looking forward to hearing about the recruitment plans that we have, not only for staff, but also for students and families. As we all are shopping for schools and school of choice, I think this is a great time to maximize on that and to be a unit and to demonstrate unity. So that's all I have. I'm really excited. If there's anything that I can do on any level, I'm here. I'm just a phone call or email away. Really want to stress how important it is to accommodate all families and although all families are welcome to the board table, I would prefer that that not be the option that's given or the only option that's given to parents that are taking time off work to address their concerns or to follow up with their children. Let's think about that. If you were in the store shopping and you walked up to an employee, and even if the employee, it wasn't the employee's job to help you find right, toilet paper, it would be my hope and your hope that, you know, you would stop what you're doing to help them or find someone that can help them. I think it's great that parents are coming to board meetings. I don't think it should be the result or the answer when an employee can't help them. And so let's just work on that and see what we can do to ensure that parental experience and to make sure it's pleasant.
Thank you, Treasurer Creighton. Vice President Bowens.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to say congratulations to our very own Benton Harbor High School senior, Miss Benton Harbor, Miss Blossom Time, Amani Collins. It's been a long time, I believe 9 years, 20 years since 20 years since Brittany Brown, 9 years since Calabria. So it's just amazing that Miss Benton Harbor, when we're counted out and counted down, wins it. And she represented us with class, dignity, and dedication. It's also great to drive past and stop and talk to the teachers and see the students playing on the playground at Fairplain East, to see them playing at Fairplain East. New Buffalo Schools basically is doing something very interesting with housing. And I think that is something that the district, Dr. Butts has mentioned before, the district should really look into. I would also encourage my colleagues to look at St. Joe Bond. It's a case study for us. So goes St. Joe, goes Benton Harbor. And let's study what they're doing, how they're marketing, what they're doing, some of the negative feedback that they're seeing when you see, and how can we be prepared for it when we do it. St. Joe is our case study. So I, just was talking to a few of their taxpayers and listening to their concerns. So I would encourage us to study St. Joe. Besides that, thank you, and I hope everybody has a great week.
All right, so I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I just wanted to say that this has been a very pleasurable meeting. And I'm hoping that we can keep this up when we have a full table, because I think that we truly do appreciate everybody's input and insight. And I think that everybody on the board believes that the others are knowledgeable. We just have to get outside of our own egos and not take it offensively when a person disagrees, and learn how to truly conduct ourselves professionally, even when we disagree with each other. And I do think it's the passion piece that Creighton mentioned. So I do look forward to us doing the work to learn how to better navigate differences and difference of opinions at the table. Also would like to wish a amazing congratulations to Miss Collins on winning Miss Blossom Time. As always, I appreciate the board and our superintendent, all of our staff and our parents that have stood with us over the years as we navigate and work to bring our district back. And I will hold all of my further comments until next week, or in our next meeting when we have a full board present and are actually conducting our votes. So at this particular time, I will ask, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Support.
The motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Vice President Bowens. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, I will call the vote for adjournment. President Robinson, yes. Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Treasurer Creighton,
Yeah.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. We are adjourned officially at 7:39 PM.
Madam President, can you call me tomorrow or to this